important borderline.
It was basically the lack of landing skills on all of his tumbles. And what, with polish, what he could have done. Monica Martin from Spain, ready on vault. Two vaults from the highest categories possible, and 2 scores average, so consistency is the name of the game. Yurchenko 1.5 twists. But as I've said so often, it's a blind landing, and accuracy is so important on a front landing. I don't know why they choose to do it. I know it gets extra marks on Tariff, but they lose on form. Very athletic run. And that was a matter of the floor hitting her rather than her hitting the floor. And this is why the knee bend was so sudden and out of control, because she didn't have, mentally, her brain didn't have time to adapt the muscles to the position she needed to be in. It only takes a split second for the message to get from the brain through the nervous system if the gymnast sees the floor first, or sees the floor as they hit it. But it was apparent there that she was blind when her feet...
On the floor, but the pommel horse was a disaster, and he will not be figuring or competing in that individual final at the weekend. Vitaly Sherbo needs to now put that behind him and focus on asymmetrics, it looks to be. Portocarrero of Guyana.
Ready, Luis, started. Very nice release and catch into counter swing into Jaeger. It was meant to be a hop change, but she walked around full pirouette on the top. Need good balance to do it that method. Another full twist and full twisting double back. Louise, quite a big girl, and there was some difficulty in that routine. She had piked Jaeger into straddle Jaeger. Big dismount and cleanly executed, but technically it wasn't good enough to make the top 8. Basically, the one-handed change from the handstand to the hop, quite a big technical error. And in the closeness of competition these days, you don't get in the top 8 in the world with a large technical error in the center of your routine. But nevertheless, in saying that, despite that fault, there was some excellent routine, excellent work, good combinations. More than adequate difficulty, 2 Ds required, and more than 2 Ds fulfilled.
And also one of the smallest federations here, Guatemala. My mistake earlier on. And good to see them not only represented, but represented with a top class and quality gymnast. 9.587. Well, that's 8th position, and that is the cut-off mark. If nobody betters that score, Lisa will be in the final of the asymmetric bars, and I'm sure she'll be delighted if she can. But there's possibly one youngster who can stop that, and that's Jamie Hill of Canada, next to compete. Of course, another rotation to follow this one. Anything can happen in these qualification rounds. We've seen many are upset.
Oh dear. After all that, and there's nothing one can do about that. If your angle of hit to the floor is incorrect, you just get bounced back onto your seat. But very disappointing after putting in all that work to get through the routine with difficulties. And just a youngster, only 15, but she's got plenty of time, and she should learn from that experience. Half turn to handstand drop, see the arm bend, which really aren't permitted. There the Kachev. There the blind change and the forward giant front away, and she just put her feet out in front of her hips when she didn't have quite enough rotation.
9.812, the leader, Svetlana Chorokina, still holds on with Nadia Hatagan for Romania lying second, and the two American girls, Borden and Dawes, in joint third spot. The surprise, possibly for most so far in the asymmetric bar competition for the girls, is that Shannon Miller finds herself down in 7th position, and quite easily the possibility of being squeezed out the Magic 8, and the defending world champion could quite possibly not be rejoining us in the individual. I keep repeating, these are the individual qualifications, not affecting the all-around competitions, which begin with the men on Thursday and the women on Friday.
And Jamie Hill just seems to have picked herself up reasonably well. Isn't by any stretch of the imagination devastated. But in a competition, once the damage is done, it's done. They're really, and same in training, these kids have got to learn to pick themselves up and carry on. 8.687, and the 4 would have cost her 5/10. To the final round of subdivision C, rotation 4, we have 2 groups. The last group on vault and the last group on A bars. And within those groups, some very good gymnasts. We've got Elodie Lusat from France, who'd messed up on bars, but on vault could be very, very powerful. Lavinia Milicevic, who's just gone into the lead on vault, and that is just enough to psych her up, a big enough carrot to possibly let her overhaul everybody already on the asymmetric bars, including her own compatriot. Then, of course, we've got Lu Li from China, quite an unknown quantity. But by the years, as they develop and change, we're not sure whether they managed to retain the same power as they had a year ago. Looking good in warm-up there. And then from the Ukraine, Bulakova, Irina Bulakova, and to me only a name read from books. I haven't actually seen her in the flesh before. So quite intriguing, Nick.
Well, it is, and there's also worth noting that Shannon Miller in the asymmetric bar competition lies down in 7th position, and with, well, at least 2 competitors that we've ticked here in the commentary box that could push her down, possibly even 3.